Hey everyone. Alright, so I was wanting to talk about the movie Dead Silence from James Wan. Part of what I have dubbed the James Wan trilogy of terror, beginning with this, then going on to the first Insidious, and then going on to The Conjuring. Dead Silence is a movie that I first saw a while ago, but I've just actually finished watching it about 10 minutes ago, and I thought I'd like to just do a video talking about some of the things in this movie, because it's not necessarily his best work, James Wan's. I think that distinction remains with the first Insidious. I think the first Insidious is the best that James Wan has done so far. I am very much looking forward to the second Conjuring film, the Enfield Poltergeist. I can't wait to see what he does with that, and I think Patrick Wilson said in an interview it contains quite possibly the creepiest scene that James Wan has done to date, so I can't wait to see what the hell that involves. But Dead Silence, this is a very, very effective film. Of course, the premise of it's to do with dolls, so automatically it's gonna be creepy, but dolls that are, of course, possessed by the spirit of Mary Shaw. Mary Shaw, of course, quite a famous ventriloquist in the town of Ravensfair, and you know, she was killed in a very horrific fashion after one of the local children went missing, and she was suspected of being involved, possible kidnapping and murder. And so, yeah, she was killed in quite horrific fashion by a number of the men of the town. And of course, her spirits come back to wreak revenge, not only on her murderers, but on their descendants. Yeah, again, simple plot that's been done before, but very effective when done well, and I think it's done very well in this film. But God, going back and watching it again, it is very impressive, because I think this was the second movie that James Wan directed. You know, so he started with Saw, and then after that, it went on to this. Very different kind of horror movie. You know, this is very much, Dead Silence is very much in the spirit of the 70s haunted house films. You know, so complete opposite end of the spectrum to what Saw was. And James Wan, the way he pulls it off is it's nothing short of remarkable. He does a really good job. You know, you can tell this is a guy who's grown up with these movies, the 70s haunted house films, and he knows what he's doing, because there's just so many sequences in this where the direction of it, you know, very well done. It's very subtle. There's really good restraint, you know. It doesn't go over the top with the jump scares. You know, you're not being smacked over the head with jump scares every 5 minutes, so you know, it doesn't alienate the audience. It's very effective, I think. And to go with that, the timing of things, you know, absolutely brilliant. And I can say much the same about The Conjuring and Insidious. Really, really subtle, restrained and well-timed direction in this. The use of lighting in the scenes, absolutely brilliant. You know, the way he creates mood and atmosphere. It's, you know, the jump scares are very, you know, they're used properly. They're used, you know, to just keep the tension there, to make sure the audience is still awake. They're not just, you know, thrown in because of the lack of ability to create some genuinely eerie, creepy and frightening moments. And again, very good use of music in this. Of course, the music in this, no, it wasn't done by Joseph Bashara. Of course, Joseph Bashara, doing the music scores for Insidious and The Conjuring, has become, I think, James Wan's go-to guy for music scores now. But didn't do the music here, but the music's still very effective in this. Again, used to great effect, used properly, used, not overused. One very brilliant, effective thing that makes this stand out is whenever things go down, there's a build up to it. So when one of the when the dolls effectively come to life, though it's done absolutely brilliantly, because what they do is they have a build up to it where all the natural sounds of the environment fade out. So if there's quite often throughout the film, if there's a dripping tap, the tap will still drip, but the noise will just fade out. If there's if you've got a kettle on the hob, the whistling of the kettle fade out. Although the steam might still be going, fade out. You might have the radio on, or at the beginning of the film they have a record playing on the turntable, fade out. And it's so effective because it creates that tension, because just everything is muted in the scene, and then you're just waiting for the silence to just be broken, and it really, really builds up that tension. It's honestly, the thought and the time and effort that's been put into planning this film. Again, all three of these films, Dead Silence, Insidious, The Conjuring, I can say genuinely about all three, these were not just thrown together to make movies. Each one in turn was a passion project. They thought each one is a horror film that's come to play. You want to see a horror movie? Alright, let's get started. And honestly, for all three installments of James Wan's trilogy of terror, I can say genuinely and unreservedly, each one is something very special. Really stands out. And I've got to say, Mary Shaw, who is the ghost in this film, the people who, the makeup team who designed the look, you've got to give them some recognition, man, because Mary Shaw is terrifying. Honestly, to talk about the others, it's honestly, in terms of the most terrifying ghost, it's between her, Mary Shaw, or the bride in black from Insidious. My God, those two are two of the most terrifying ghosts that I've ever come across in a horror film. But the people who came up with the designs, the look for these two characters, God, what a job they've done, because legitimately both are absolutely terrifying. Obviously, Dead Silence came first, 2007 I believe. Insidious came out in 2010 or 11. There is some similarities between the look of Mary Shaw and the Bride in Black, so maybe you could say that Mary Shaw is kind of like the prototype for the Bride in Black. Maybe that's a fair assessment to make, but both are equally terrifying. Yeah, honestly, the designs of the ghosts in all of these movies just stunning. And in this one in particular, Dead Silence, the amount of dolls that feature in, because Mary Shaw, she had no children. The rhyme goes in the film, she had no children, only dolls, and she has a lot of dolls. But each one, the time and effort that's been put into designing each doll, and each doll looks eerie and genuinely creepy. But like I say, it's one of James Wan's trademarks, creepy dolls. I mean, God, his Twitter name's Creepy Puppet. Take from that what you will. Yeah, just the design team deserves just a whole lot of recognition. You know, for all three of the movies. You know, hats off to them, because they play a major role in making these three films what they are and as good as they are. Yeah, and in this particularly, because the climax of the movie takes place, or main part of the climax of the film takes place at this old abandoned theatre. Why wouldn't it? And the way they designed that abandoned theatre and dressed the whole scene, the set designers have done a fantastic job. It's a stunning set, the abandoned theatre, absolutely brilliant. You know, the set decoration, set design, the art design, absolutely stunning. Really, really, really effective. Yeah, again, that's another aspect of the film that deserves recognition. The set designs are fantastic. Same for Insidious. I mean, sorry, this has kind of become a review of the Trilogy of Terror. But to talk about Insidious briefly, Insidious is a perfect example of less is more. Like when Patrick Wilson goes into the further at the end, how simple that is, but effective, because it's all in blackness with Patrick Wilson with a lantern to light his way. You could just shot that on a soundstage. You could have shot that in a warehouse for all we know, because it's blacked out, and just Patrick Wilson's lantern to light the scene with a lot of dry ice, and dry ice is used very effectively in Dead Silence. But the dry ice, when Patrick Wilson's in the further in Insidious, really, really effective. You know, so it's a recurring aspect of James Wan's movies. You know, the thought that's gone into how each scene should be, how each scene should look. You know, the surrounding of the scene. Of course, the abandoned theatre in Dead Silence is much more elaborate than what the further is in Insidious, but both equally effective in their own way. Yeah, and one thing I will say about Dead Silence, it's got a great story, as we said, great direction, great set design, great makeup design. Genuinely chilling in parts, of course, and some genuinely brilliant writing. For me, the best character in the movie is Donnie Wahlberg's character, who plays the detective who's investigating the main character. Because of course, basically, film opens up, we're introduced to the main character, and 10 minutes in, his wife gets, you know, this doll arrives, it is on his doorstep. Like 10 minutes later, his wife ends up dead. So obviously, that's how this whole film comes about. Obviously, he's investigating what's happened, and it leads him back to Raven's Fair and you know, investigating the story of Mary Shaw and her dolls. And Donnie Wahlberg is the detective investigating his wife's murder. Donnie Wahlberg is absolutely fantastic in this film. He is legitimately my favourite character. He's absolutely brilliant. To a large extent, he is the comic relief of the film. He is, but it's very good. It's not too, you know, it's not too much comedy. so that it doesn't feel out of place. It is the right amount. I think maybe objectively speaking, he's probably a better comic relief than what Specs and Tucker are in Insidious. There are times in Insidious where that feels a bit out of place, whereas Donnie Wahlberg's character in Dead Silence, no, that fits, I think, or fits better. Yeah, Donnie Wahlberg is absolute brilliant in this movie. Yeah, so again, credit there for a really great character that Leigh Whannell created when he wrote this screenplay. Yeah, has some good lines in the film. But yeah, again, just another aspect of this movie that's really deserving of praise. But very simple and effective film, because I don't think this film had a particularly monstrous budget. It's James Wan, so 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a pretty conservative budget. I mean, the first Insidious, that was made on very, very small budget. But this movie, Dead Silence, this was a Universal picture, whereas Insidious was independent, and The Conjuring, that was a Warner Brothers picture, so, you know, 2 big studio films. But even so, still pretty small budgets. I think Dead Silence and The Conjuring may have only had around a $20 million budget. Not massive budgets at all, but, you know, with such a small budget, still managed to accomplish a great deal. You know, and that shows what a great director James Wan is. Very resourceful, very imaginative. You know, got that John Carpenter aspect of directing down. You know, just using what you have available. You know, making things work. Because of course that was a true trademark of John Carpenter's style of directing. Just roll with what you have. And I think to a large extent that's what James Wan does. Yeah, but I'm going to wrap this up, because there was the main points I would wanted to cover. One thing I will say is, of course, Dead Silence. It's not the most well known, of course, of James Wan. Obviously, when you think of James Wan, Saw, Insidious, and now The Conjuring, not many people really mention Dead Silence. I think it's unfortunate, because I think it's genuinely effective. It's a very, very solid horror film, I think. I think it, you know, it deserves more recognition. It's, yeah. I think, you know, it deserves to be, you know, promoted, I think. Yeah, you should seek this out and watch it. It's not hard to come by. Of course, I got this from HMV. They have it on Amazon. Not very much at all. Peanuts, basically, and you know what you do pay for it. It's, you know, more than worth it. Absolute bargain. But yeah, find it out and watch it. It's very, very effective. You know, and considering it was it was James Wan's first effort at this kind of a horror film, it's all the more impressive. So yeah, that pretty much brings us to a close. Very good film, you know, very good way to start the trilogy of terror. Yeah, and I recommend it highly, you know, and hey, roll on The Conjuring too, see what, you know. But I think James Wan's someone who just keeps getting better and better, you know, because I genuinely think, you know, Dead Silence, really solid start. I think so far Insidious, the first Insidious, has been his peak. I think The Conjuring, while not as good as Insidious, I didn't think. I thought that was better than Dead Silence. So, you know, look, it's as it should be. You know, James Wan, he's progressing, really, really is. So yeah, I think he's just going to keep getting better and better. And I know, of course, he did Fast 7 recently. He had a break away from horror. Obviously gone back to horror to do The Conjuring 2. Looks as though he's going to be involved with the new Mortal Kombat reboot, hopefully. So whether he's going to be dabbling in and out of horror in the future, because he's attached to direct the new Aquaman as well. So yeah, whether he's gonna, you know, be, you know, drifting in and out of horror in the future, but I hope I hope The Conjuring 2 won't be his last, you know, hurrah where horror is concerned, because I think he is legitimately one of the best, if not the best, modern horror director. You know, he's got a certain, you know, you associate with him a certain level of quality now, I think. So I just hope that he does continue on making horror films in the future, and it'd be nice to see after The Conjuring what he does next, horror wise. So yeah, that pretty much brings us to a close. I recommend Dead Silence, of course, recommend Insidious and The Conjuring also. And hey, if you guys have seen it, seen all three, probably have, please feel free to share your thoughts below in the comment section. And if you were debating whether to watch these movies, you know, if you'd seen them advertised, if you'd come across them but never actually sat down and watched it, hey, if you are horror fans and are looking for a genuinely effective set of horror films, hey, I hope you enjoy them. So yeah, that brings us to a close. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this review, and I shall see you all next time. Thank you, everyone. Bye.